Hello everyone, Colin Canet here for Woodworkweb. Today we're back, this time putting doors in our little vanity cabinet. But to start off, I want to show you how I work on how to make the right size drawers, and I want to show you something. The first thing I consider whenever I'm making doors is the size of the door, and I've got some models here. So this is a piece of wood that fits in here. This is the full width of the door. I also have two smaller strips which together are also the full width of the door. Now if you watch, when you're standing in front of a cabinet, now of course it's up high, but still if it was on the floor, the same thing happens. When you open the door with a single door, watch what happens. You pull open the door and you have to stand back. And I hate doors that do that. So I looked at the second model, which is this, and if I stand in front of it from the same angle and open the doors, I don't have to move anywhere. So it's a lot more convenient having two doors than having one big door, and every time you open it you have to step back. So today we're going to go with two doors. Even though it's twice as much work, it's going to look twice as good. The little surprise I've been teasing you with is that we're going to be using this gorgeous Birdseye maple veneer, and we're going to apply it to the center panel, so we'll have some beautiful Birdseye veneer in the center panels surrounded by that dark walnut dye. What we're going to do is I'm going to use this gel contact cement, and we'll put a coating on both the substrate, which is just a MDF material, and the back of our veneer. I like to use these dowels. You can also use some nice clean wood, and the reason I do that is because I want to line up at least two sides here, and you can't let this contact cement touch anything or it will stick. It will stick immediately. What I want to do is take that right across there like that. Good. And there's my homemade veneer hammer. While that glue is drying, we're back at the table saw, and we're going to trim up all of these rails and stiles to 1 3/4 inches. I've had to take the blade guard off because there's not enough room for me to run this through without interfering with the blade guard. So. Well, there's the pieces for our door, all trimmed to size and to length, and they all fit nicely together. The next thing we need to do, the same thing as we did on the carcass, is I'm going to drill the dowel holes because we're going to do doweling on the door as well. Now, I'm not going to make you sit through drilling all these holes, but I just wanted to show you the blue tape is the face side, always to the face side, so face to face, and the little tick mark, I have a tick mark on the top and the bottom are actually the side to side because these are the side rails for the doors. So I'm just going to go ahead and we'll start drilling those. There, we're back at the workbench, and you can see these are the tops of all of the stiles, and there's the rail that will go across, and you can see how deep that is in there. So I need to clean out these on each one of these, right where I make this little mark here on each one of these. And I found the quickest way to do that is to find a drill that is the same distance as this and just drill this area out and then clean it out with a chisel. So just like the sides on the main part of this, we had to do some pre-finishing so that the wood will get into the dados, and I'm going to do the same thing here, only on this Birdseye maple veneer I'm just going to use a straight Seikos finish and let that dry, and I'll put 3 coats of that on. While I put another coat on top of our insert, I also took a moment and put 1 coat of the walnut dye on our rails and stiles. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to trim this and cut out our panels, and we'll do a dry fit, and we'll actually see what the panels are going to look like. So we've rechecked all of our fittings. Everything works fine now. Just time to do some final assembly. And in this case, we are going to put glue in every dowel hole. We're getting close to a final assembly here, and a couple things I need to do. I want to put some shelves in here, and you know, for shelves I usually try and just use plywood if I can, and sometimes I'll even, or very often, I'll actually surface the front of it, and I'm going to do that in this case. In the bottom here, it's going to sit below all of this, so I'm just going to trim this on the table. So just so you can see inside here, the lower shelf is going to sit on here, and I've just cut a couple of brackets that I'm going to glue and just tack them on there. And from the offcuts, I just made some spacers, so I'll use one there and another one on this side, and then I'll just tack that on there, and then the shelf will sit on one of these on the front, on the back, this one on the back, and I'll put another one on the front. Now I've put the glue on, and I don't need to double glue both sides here. If I put that on and move that back and forth like that, that really helps distribute. You can see how that distributes the glue. And now all I need to do is set the height. That one's go. And just tack that. Check the other side. There, that'll hold that on until that glue sets, and the glue will hold it. And I'll do the same on the front side. And I'm not going to show that because I can't really show that, but I'll just use the nailer on the inside and do the same thing. Let's take a moment to put in that lower shelf. There it is. So it's even with the front, and in the back it's even along there. So that's what that cabinet's going to look like. I'll be honest with you, I agonized over the hardware, and I finally decided that we'd use these little called butterfly type hinges on them. I had a choice between that and butt hinges, and of course butt hinges would go inside there. The reason I went with these is because this cabinet is darker, and I wanted to put a little bit of bling to it to make it sort of stand out a little bit more. So in placing these hinges, what I found is that about 3.5 inches from the top or the bottom, and I'm just going to make a little line there, and that little line will line up with the center of that screw hole, and of course it'll be hidden under there so you won't see it. So I'm just going to go ahead and make that mark on all of them. Take a measurement from about the center point of a marker to where you want your hinge to go, and just sort of, if you just make a little mark, that'll give you a good reference point to start out with. So you've got both points. So now you've got a mark this way and a mark this way, and with that, all you need to do is put a little divot in there, and you may want to drill that, but whatever you do, that will make sure that all of your hinges are all the same distance apart on each one of the doors. I like to make the hole big enough that it will take the screw and just sort of bite into it by starting it with your finger, and then we can use the screwdriver. And now, if you have to move it around, you can do that now. So I'm going to snug that a bit more. There we go. And that looks... Now we can find another center hole. So I want to start by installing the right-hand door, and I've got a shim on the bottom. I also want to have one on the side, so we'll put the door in place so that it sits on that shim from the bottom, and we'll tuck one in on the back, and that will give the spacing on the back. So I'm just going to mark in the center of that hole. And I think I'll use the power driver. Okay, let's take those shims out and check that door. Perfect. Okay, I'll carry on and put the other two screws in each top and bottom. To offset the brass hinges, I also have some brass door pulls so that they'll sort of match. Now, when you're putting on hardware onto doors, for example, this door is almost 22 inches long, and typically you would think about putting it halfway, but if you put it halfway, what happens, there's an optical illusion that happens with doors, and from where you're looking at it may not be because you're looking at it dead on, but when this is on the floor, this will actually feel like it's too low. So what you want to do, instead of making it the halfway mark, you want to put it above, and in my case I'm going to put it about 12.5, 13 inches, which is not halfway, it's on the upper half of it, and when you do that, it actually makes the door pull look like it's in the center of the door, even though it's actually a little bit higher. Well, that finishes our doors, and of course the doors finish this little bathroom vanity build that we've been working on for some time. And I've got the little magnetic catches installed now, so when the doors close they hold nice and tight. I really like, some time ago we got some Birdseye maple veneer from our buddies at Oakwood Veneer, and it really added some pizzazz to it. When you see it in person, there's almost a three-dimensional look to the veneer panels in there. It just really looks great. The brass makes it all kind of stand out. Really happy with the way this build turned out. So don't forget, if you haven't already, subscribe to us. We ask you to do that. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. And I know we ask you that a lot, but it's really important to us that you do like us on Facebook, because it helps us to get the message out to the kind of things that we're making and the kind of woodworking projects and builds and so on that we're doing here. So I'm Colin Canet for Woodworkweb. Thank you for watching.